Welcome to the Cruise Retreat Podcast. Hi, I'm Rita Perez, and I'm a travel advisor specializing in, you guessed it, cruise ship retreats. This podcast is for service-based entrepreneurs and corporate decision makers to learn more about staying everyone's favorite company with a cruise ship retreat. Ready to increase your client or employee retention? Listen in on this week's show. Happy Hump Day! Welcome back to the Cruise Retreat Podcast on the Cruise Retreat series. Whoop whoop! Today we are talking about the third C, which is calendar. Now, I do need to kind of address what the big elephant is in the room. One of the most popular questions that I've got is, how is the cruise industry doing? And right now, at the moment of this recording, February 2021, we are not sailing. But just because we're not sailing doesn't mean that you shouldn't be thinking about a cruise retreat, and doesn't mean that you shouldn't start planning right now, because actually right now is the perfect time to start planning, because there's so many factors that are going to be occurring when we restart cruising, such as limited capacity on the ships, that is really going to limit what you might be able to do and when you might be able to have your cruise retreat. So start planning now so that we can eliminate so many questions later on. Another great thing that I had recently seen, which I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, is I had seen a survey where over 90% of respondents said that employee welfare was the most important thing for them right now moving forward. And, I know many companies have been working from home, so they haven't even had that personal touch with their own employees, and many small business owners have transitioned to the virtual life, which everything is right now. But I know the virtual life, while it is definitely more convenient on a day-to-day basis, people are yearning for connections and to get out there and to meet new people and learn new things, but not over the internet. I think so many of us might be a little bit burnt out right now, and not only burnt out from the virtual and not being with your teams all the time or meeting with clients regularly, but we all need a break. We all need a break, and we need to get out there and explore in the world again, because that's something that was taken away from us. And a cruise retreat a year and a half to 2 years from now, personally, is going to be so overdue. But professionally, it's something that will bring a fresh air to any organization. Now, the bare minimum planning time is 12 months. So right now, if you begin your planning process right now, you should not be having a cruise retreat before February 2022. Are there certain exceptions? Of course, there's always exceptions with anything, but it's going to be very, very tight right now, especially with the recent cancellations that pushes us now to a May 2021 restart. I feel just meeting space and cabin space is going to be very limited. Ideally, you are planning 18 to 24 months in advance, which is kind of perfect for right now. So cruises, if you're planning right now, will be sailing August 2022 or later, ideally. Now, there's still lots of things to question and uncertainties that can happen, and this is not relating to the safety, it's just relating to if space is available on board. And that's when you need to be talking with me, and we need to get started on your cruise retreat plans. There is a calendar calculator available with this module in your cruise retreat toolkit, and that shows you where you can start, and that shows you when you can start beginning to plan your cruise retreat in the next 2 to 3 years. So maybe you don't want to do a retreat right now in August 22, but you'd like to do it a little bit later or a little bit earlier. So this is kind of going to gauge your timing of when you start planning versus when your retreat needs to sail. And I will periodically update these for the most significant times too. So if whenever like you're planning out, so you have 2022 plan, but you want to start thinking about 2023, the calendar will help with, or the calculator calendar will help with that. The calendar in the toolkit has a breakdown of important events in the planning process and when they should be happening. This will, of course, vary on the cruise lines, and more specific deadlines to the cruises are like when your deposits and payments are due. But most of the other things are kind of not going to change. You're going to be the busiest in 2 points of this planning process: when you first begin and when you're getting to the finish line. Now, in between the first planning months and the last planning months, you still need to make sure that you are promoting your cruise. And this is more important for small business than it is for corporate, because corporate, your employees are going to go. There's going to be some exceptions that they're not going to go. Maybe they have something prearranged during the dates that you've picked, or they suddenly become pregnant, or whatever the situation is. But for the most part, employees will sail. Whereas on the small business side, you need to keep promoting so it's fresh in everybody's mind, because they don't need to go. This is an investment that they've made on themselves. So you need to keep this fresh on their mind. Even if you've enrolled a couple people in your cruise retreat, go ahead and keep promoting that to make sure that they stick, and see if there's anybody else that wants to join your retreat as well. You don't want to lose interest during that in-between period, and you can work with me and we can come up with some ideas that'll help keep the interest. Promotion and content planning are the biggest items that you're going to see in the planning timeline. Content also includes any props or materials that will be needed or purchased, like event collateral. So that includes your shirts, name badges, any logoed bags for the event. If you want to do like portfolios or pens, those are all good things that you need to keep in mind when you're writing your preliminary agenda, which we're going to start tomorrow, that you need to have on your timeline so that you get them in time for your cruise and they do not miss the boat. I had to add that in there. Alrighty, so that is a very brief overview of the calendar. Once you look into your planning timeline in the toolkit, it will itemize everything out for you. There are separate versions for corporate and small business, like most of the modules are. Tomorrow we're going into day 4, curriculum, and we will let the content planning begin then. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on the Cruise Retreat podcast. Please subscribe and leave the show a rating on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to take a look at the show notes for important information and links. See you next week.